And we are switching over to live. Good evening, Mr. Silmanis. Oh, love your shirt. Love your shirt.
And I was going to wear that before I knew this was the last show ever.
Yeah, I should have worn, well, I'm wearing my jacket, so I guess that's close. So I don't know where Steve is. So Steve should
I see 4
fashionably
participants on the, oh no, it just went down to 4. Oh, that's Shrad.
Yes, and that's within Zoom.
Oh.
So welcome everyone. Good evening, Shrad.
Oh, Shrad's here?
Yeah.
Okay, there goes the neighbor. There goes the neighborhood. See you later, man.
That's right. It's all downhill.
Hey, buddy.
Welcome everyone to another edition of Wine and Whiskey Wednesday.
Today for me,
and I've got some more people coming in, so hang on a second. It is our farewell edition as well, and maybe it's the farewell edition because Steve hasn't even joined, so he's having trouble connecting, he says. Although we are on the same internet. But so cheers, everyone. We'll give you a couple minutes to join in as well. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
What's this, drinking right from the bottle?
You can cheers with the bottle. Just go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it is the farewell, so she hasn't been able to attend very many, so this way she's just making up for it and drinking the whole bottle.
That's exactly it. I was like, I gotta be there. I can't get the bottle open yet, so I'll get there.
How is everyone doing tonight?
Good.
Are you all good? Everyone's good? Everyone's excited? Yeah. Do you have a good long weekend?
We had a long weekend?
Yeah, I know.
It's been like,
it all kind of seems
it's like every day is a long weekend.
Yeah, it's been like 8 weeks of a long weekend.
Yeah. Is everyone back at work?
Was anyone not at work? Or the lucky people who didn't have to work?
Oh, I know. I can't understand the people who have. Oh, and it looks like we've lost our live, our Facebook live as well. It says we're having trouble playing this video. Can anyone tell me if we're actually still live?
It looks like it's there.
Okay.
I can't hear it, but I can see it.
Okay, so as long as it's still there, then it's fine.
There's
well, I guess when it's farewell, it literally is just going to be, one host as opposed to two.
Steve just popped up.
Steve is logging on now. We just need to wait for him to kick in. But yeah, Shrad, I understand completely the people who say, I'm so bored. I don't know what to do. I've played all the games and I've done puzzles and I've cooked up everything and I've been baking and I'm thinking, I can't even imagine what that feels like.
Yeah. Well, I also started with no knowledge of any of those things. So for me, like the bar is like, and now I've picked up a ukulele, see?
Oh. That's very cool.
If you start at level 0, then everything else is interesting. Right?
Everything else is an achievement.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of these days,
Well, all my paint by numbers are stuck in China right now.
Yes, I got my new one today, so I'm looking forward to just starting it.
What, your ukulele?
No,
or paint by numbers.
I've started doing paint by numbers, which I find so relaxing. And my concern was what I was going to do with them all once I finished painting them. And my daughter is loving them, and so she has created a wall in her room that has all of them. And it looks really cool.
It's a free gallery.
Yes, yes. I said, well, we can just, paint over them with white paint and you get a new canvas. And she said, no. It started out as a gift for her. She's been bugging me since she was probably 12 for me to draw something for her or paint something for her for her birthday. Rather than buying her a gift, she wanted me to create something for her. And so I thought this was probably as close as I was going to get to drawing something. So I started it last year for her birthday and found that I absolutely love it. So who knew?
Now, can I ask one question? Are you wiping down those pictures before you use them?
Oh, there you go.
I wiped down the outside of the package this morning when it came, but other than that,
Okay.
What do you
But
think
what
about
about
that, Steve? What do you think? Tell us, Steve. How do you feel about her not wiping stuff down? Let's talk about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we are in the same house.
That's why.
yes.
I'm not sure that you should be so cavalier.
I cleaned off the outside of it. It's been sitting on a boat inside a plastic package for 6 weeks. I'm pretty sure everything's dead that's on it.
Okay,
Actually,
well,
I
as
know.
long as
No, I
you're
just did the
pretty
inside.
sure, I feel a lot better.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. So for tonight, we want to talk about a little bit about why it is the farewell edition. We've been doing wine and whiskey for a year and a half now.
Wait a sec. This is the farewell edition?
This is the farewell edition. Yeah.
No one told Steve.
Okay.
It was just a unanimous kind of decision. Was I supposed to discuss it with you first? Sorry.
Well, that would be unanimous if we actually discussed it and agreed, but please go ahead.
You told me.
We've started. Hi, Betty. So we started it a year and a half ago, and honestly, we didn't really know where it was going to go or what the purpose. Well, we knew what the purpose of it was, that we wanted to have some interesting discussions with our industry, with our community about growing your business, building your team. And when we started, we weren't the hot ninjas, but we are now. But when we started, so it was mostly about just everything about growing your practice. And then it morphed into the hot ninjas probably last summer, I'm going to say. And
yeah, sorry. I you know how much I hate to interrupt you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do beg to differ.
Okay.
I believe we have always been the hot ninjas. It just became official recently.
Okay, fair enough. I stand corrected. So certainly you guys won't miss this, right? The interruption of the conversation every Wednesday. And so we have found over probably the last couple of months. Steve has been talking about doing a podcast like for the last 3 years. And so the podcast was launched this week, Monday, Tuesday, somewhere in there.
Yep.
And so initially the discussion wasn't that we stopped wine and whiskey because we were starting a podcast. It was going to be that we were going to do both because they serve two different functions. But over the last couple of months, and especially with everything with, the lockdown, there is just so much online. There's a webinar every day. There's Zoom calls that you can jump in almost every day. There's multiple, Practice Ignition is doing something. IPBC is doing something. People are doing Talk Tuesdays. People are doing Friday chats. And it just seemed that Steve and I are very much about if we're going to put something out there, then we need to be adding value. If we're taking up your time, you're spending an hour of time with us, there has to be something in it for you other than just to sit around and drink wine and whiskey. And we found that over the last 4 to 6 weeks, we've really been struggling with, well, what can we talk about that isn't already being talked about in the industry? And so when we did our last episode 2 weeks ago, we thought, well, let's move it to every other week. And, maybe then there'll be topics that are relevant that we can talk about. And that was 2 weeks ago. And we were sitting down last night, we were sitting down this morning and saying, well, what is it that nobody in our industry is talking about? And we couldn't find anything. We couldn't think of anything. And so we thought, okay, this is a sign telling us that it's time, to transform Wine and Whiskey Wednesday into something else. Now, we don't know what that is. We don't know when it will happen, but, there will be something, whether it's, impromptu Facebook Lives or LinkedIn Lives, or we don't know. But we feel very strongly about if we're doing something that there needs to be some value to it, and haven't felt like we've been able to add any value other than, we had some fun playing bingo 2 weeks ago. So that is our reasoning, unless Steve, you would like to add something to that?
I'm quite sure I could never add to anything you say.
Wow, Juliet, you've trained him well. Look at that response. Very well done, Steve. I should learn something from you.
And I'm not sure that's true at all.
I think you trained him well too.
Husband should as well.
Okay, very good, very good. So I thought that what might be a great topic for tonight, since we are talking about, the transformation and the pivoting of Wine and Whiskey Wednesday into something and metamorphosis into something, is everyone or a lot of businesses are having to pivot right now, and they are having to change. So maybe a topic about, something that you've done differently in your business that you've never done before, or even something that you've thought about doing that you've never done before, because you are having to shift your business. One of the advantages that we have being small businesses is we can shift fairly quickly. The larger businesses take longer to turn. And so I'm sure that many of you have already started on some agility moves to trying to keep up with things and maybe venturing into a new
even if you have clients who you think are doing a great job of pivoting and doing something different than what they've been doing in the past, that by sharing it maybe help somebody else.
Yes. Anyone have anything they'd like to share? They'd like to start with?
Well, I'm definitely not pivoting in that classic sense. I'm pretty much realizing where I want to be, and that's cloud-based support and being able to manage my business remotely and manage my clients. The one area that it's kind of forced me into is, like, you guys all got super busy with all the filing and ROEs and stuff like that.
Yes.
My business hasn't really lended itself to my clients wanting to spend a lot of money. I've had tons of interest. Everyone's being super cautious. So it's allowed me to look at, cash management. Obviously, something I always take seriously anyways. It's always been a part of my DNA is to run businesses really lean and mean. So I've been cutting costs. I did away with my co-working space even before this happened. I realized I wasn't getting the ROI anymore. I've ditched some apps I might not need. Gone through every line item, and it's not just for survival. It's just I wanted to do it anyways. So I'm poised for the comeback because I am so lean. I'm even thinking of ditching my letters, my CPA, because
Really?
there's no
Okay.
there's no value in it for me because I don't do year ends. I don't do taxes. I haven't for 20 years. It's something I'll never do. So what the CPA brings me is thousands of dollars in fees every year. I need to carry more insurance than I would otherwise. I estimate it's about $4,000 to $5,000. It's
But
costing
Brad,
me.
I think you're forgetting something. You can notarize documents. Don't forget that.
Whoop-de-doo. Sorry.
Yeah, I gave up my CMA, so I know what you're talking about.
So I've had a lot of talk with other people who've done it. Jeff Bourgeois ditched his CPA as well a lot of
Really?
years back.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, how come? He sort of saw the institute as I do, is that it's a lot of money, but there's not a lot of value there. Yeah, they keep the industry on the up and up and straight and narrow, and I see the need for it. But for me personally, it's fees, disclosures. What else do I have to worry? I have to do my PD, my PD sign off every year. I have to take PD. It's like whatever. And so I'm thinking now's the time. They've already extended our fee deadline. It's supposed to be the end of May, and they extended it to June. And now I'm looking into what it'll take to strip it away. And I've had some people try and talk me out of it, saying, "Oh, but you're a CA. That's awesome." Well, sort of at the stage of my career where it's not doing a darn thing for me. I can always call myself a former CPA. You can't
Right.
stop me from doing that. I have yet to do anything in probably 10 years' time that takes a CA to do, right? So I have not done a tax return. I have not done a year end. So the letters disappearing don't do anything. So that's something that I'm changing. And if anything, it's not just the cost savings. I'll have to market it a bit differently, because frankly, I don't want to be known as an accountant anymore, because
so
that's the
you've
first.
taken the opportunity to take a step back and.
Sorry, I lost somebody.
Yeah, Juliet, we lost you.
Oh, am I back?
I didn't hear your question.
Okay.
Yeah, I only heard, did you take an opportunity to, or something?
Okay, so you've taken the opportunity during this time to, you're pivoting your business because you're changing how you're marketing yourself. So that is absolutely, that's pivoting your business.
Yeah, it's a bit of a gut check. That it won't take a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to do some work. There's a checklist of things I have to do I have to switch from a professional corporation back to a regular corporation, which involves a bit of paperwork with a registry. I have to give back my designation, the physical piece of paper.
I know,
which,
that's crazy. I've heard that as well. That you
but
have to give back the piece of paper. But,
there's a bit of a trick there, though, because when they switched
is that me again?
CA, CMA, CGA over to CPA,
Connection?
so we got a new piece of parchment when I became a CPA, and I've never taken it out of its tube. So I'll gladly send
And I
that
think
back.
I'm gone again.
Oh, does anyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you.
I think
Brad?
Anyways,
Brad,
Yeah.
can I ask you a question?
sure.
Would you say that maybe that it would like draw clients to you? Like it would make it easier for you to be able to find clients if you had the designation?
I don't think so.
No?
I'm being found based on my QuickBooks expertise and knowledge and star power in that space, and I'm easy to mark. I spent an hour on the phone today with a prospect, and we didn't even talk about my accounting background. We talked about my QuickBooks experience and my knowledge, and that's how she found me. So I don't think so.
interesting.
Yeah,
Else?
I'm gonna give it some
I don't
final
think it
thought.
matters as much in today's day and age.
Well, it does if you're doing certain things.
Sure,
right?
yeah, but for what you're doing,
Traditional.
you're already a bona fide expert, and like you said, you have a specific, you already have a brand that you are. It's Brad. Brad is QuickBooks Intuit expert. You know a lot about it. I think that the way you're thinking about it, to me, feels correct.
Yeah, it's been a tough decision because I look back to 1991, where I passed the UFI, and how awesome it was, and I was up there with best memories with my son being born or my wedding day. You know, it was a big deal, and that was a proud moment. But I'm sort of at the stage of my career. It's like, you know, it was fun while it lasted, but I don't see the point anymore. But yeah,
I'm not sure anyone can ever take that away from you.
Well,
Yes,
that's the
so-
thing that Jeff Borshaw said is you can't take
Yeah,
what's up here,
yeah.
right?
Absolutely. And they
So-
can't take away the accomplishment that you got it. You've made a decision to hand back that piece of paper, but.
Well, there's actually two pieces of paper, and maybe the other one might be missing.
Okay, anyone else? What else
So,
is?
Brad, sorry, I just want to say, I don't know if you heard me, but I used to have a CMA, and I wrote it in like 3 years, and at third year I gave it up. So it's not that hard, and I felt awesome because I was like, I never have to go to those courses again. It's the best thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, you sit there in those boardrooms or whatever, those like conference halls, and then they feed you like rubbish food. It's terrible. I prefer not having to do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I left public practice in 1994, and I've never really looked back.
Yeah,
I've never truly needed my CA since then. So, but anyways, that's something I'm thinking of, and I got a fee reminder today, and that just reminded me that maybe I should jump at this.
Yeah. Perfect. Anybody else? Anybody else pivoting? Shrad, there's a lot of stuff that's changing in the payroll space right now. And one of the things that I thought was amazing was how quickly a company of your size was able to pivot and release built into the product the tracking of the wage subsidy. So
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about that as to how you were able to turn that around so quickly?
Sure, yeah. I can take no credit though, just so you are fully aware.
So your
Everyone
CMA
else-
didn't help.
No, my CMA does never helps actually. That's why I gave it up. But is everyone here bookkeepers? Is everyone on the call bookkeepers?
Yes,
Okay.
except for Steve.
Okay, cool. Well, Steve is master
Yes.
extraordinaire of everything. He's just
Yes,
like
Steve,
magic man.
Steve has no designation whatsoever.
But Steve, you are like the heart and soul of all of us, so that's all that matters. Yeah,
I'm
no,
not designated either, but I'm a bookkeeper.
yeah, no. So you guys have a very different experience than I do. When I took the CMA, I think I talked about it last time. I didn't do it for the sake of. I'm a terrible accountant, bookkeeper. I don't know. I don't really know where anything goes. But what I do know is that I always knew that building a business, you needed a really good financial background, or someone somewhere could take advantage of you. And I would rather be the one. I would rather not be the one on that side of the stick. So I'd rather be the one taking advantage. But all of that, all those jokes aside, yeah, I mean, it's been very interesting. There's nothing that motivates people, I think, better than a global catastrophe where all humanity is in it together. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
in our company, because there's so many kind people, and people who just want like success for everybody. Like, it was kind of amazing. Like, everyone was jumping in, and I was like, I can take that. I was like, awesome. And like that, the whole product team, like literally, there's probably like 15 people in it, just went like pivot, like in one direction, like a school of fish. They literally said, okay, who's doing what, like what's going on. And then, like, I think Lena and Ryan, like Ryan Deneen, who's a co-founder of our company, and he's the guy who built the payroll engine. I don't know how many of you guys are WagePoint customers or familiar with WagePoint at all. Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, so, and though in that way, we essentially had like we have like, I talked about this before, like we have like, I just said, okay, who are our generals? And Lena was one, Ryan was one. They split the teams, went hard, like we were getting information almost on a regular basis, like every 4 hours, like there was like a new announcement. And so they had to like sort of almost in like a very few days, they had to figure out what was going on, make sure that it's correct, because the last thing we want to do is release something that we have to roll back.
Yeah.
Then everybody, including like QA. So the way that when you build software, you basically you have to describe what you're going to do, the requirements of what you're going to build. Then you have to code it. Then you have to do something called pre-production testing, which is basically testing everything that you can inside of the path of the app. So it's a pain in the ass. And then I can say ass, right? We're all drinking, right?
Yes.
And
It's
you guys
our
are
last
bookkeepers.
episode anyways. You're good.
Yeah. Also, you guys are bookkeepers. I've heard some really colorful stuff from that man Brad right there. And then from there, you basically launch it, and then you have post-production testing. So it's like there's a lot of people involved in this, but the way that these guys pulled it together, I was like, wow. I mean, this is incredible. So I don't think, honestly, like this is when you have to depend on your culture, like your company's culture, to really come through for you. Because if other people, everyone's like, I don't know, like I have to finish at 5 or whatever, that stuff doesn't work in times like this. So
But I guess more than anything, what was the deciding, or where did the decision come from that you guys were going to address this? Because the ADPs and the Ceridians of the world are haven't done anything. They haven't released it. They're not tracking it. They're not doing anything.
They just told us to do it yourselves.
Yes.
Which
and
has,
then
of course,
call
led to
them
work for us.
And call them and tell them how much you want to under remit. And that's all they're doing for you. So what made you decide as a company that you're going to address this versus an ADP or a Ceridian that isn't?
I think that
starts
with leadership.
No, I don't think we thought we had a choice. What are you saying about ADP now? I don't think we even thought about not doing it. The idea would be ludicrous. Why would we want anyone to have to do it manually when we can do it through technology?
Well, Ceridian and ADP are making us do it manually.
Yeah, it's all manual. And NEBS or PayWeb is as well. So those are all the big companies.
I've got clients on Ceridian.
I think that's a mistake, Ross.
I
But
don't have any clients on it. I have one client that used to be on WagePoint, but like one reason that you do it versus them is because you give a crap about us. Like you are at our stuff. Like, I don't know. Does ADP come to QuickBooks Connect?
well, I don't know if it's ADP on Wine and Whiskey Wednesday. I don't know
No,
about
ADP has never been on Wine and Whiskey
They're not in
Wednesday.
our community.
Neither is
We don't
Ceridian.
sit there and
Well,
ask us the things that we
just for the
want.
record, they are never invited.
that. Poor
Not
folks.
after this shit.
Yeah. No, actually, you know what? The truth is, because we're a technology company, that's the real answer. For us, everything is, we're like, I honestly don't think we thought we had a choice. We were like, this is going to help the customer. We're a technology company, we can do it. I don't think we thought anyone else wouldn't do it. So it's kind of amazing. I actually thought, I felt certain that I saw Ceridian having released something, but
No.
No,
Yeah.
no, I have to deal with it myself. And I
No,
just,
So that's what just puts you above the rest of them.
Yeah,
Even
but-
though you're a smaller company, that just right there, just the fact that you would go above and beyond and solve a pain point for us because you were in our community listening to us, right?
yeah, but also
They're
like,
not, they don't hear it.
okay, honestly speaking, this is the real truth. I think we really inhabit the small business person. You know, like we're not the company, we're just the customer all the time. So the company is a secondary reality for us. The customer is the only reality. So for us, the idea of not doing it honestly never occurred to us. And I didn't even make the decision. By the time I had, because I was busy helping support. So by the time I turned around, these guys had already said, okay, but this is how we're going to make the subsidy happen. I was like, awesome, let's do it. So it wasn't even me. It's just the company structured well enough that people are making independent decisions for the customer. I'm not the boss. It's the customer, and that's you guys, right? So I just happen to guide people when they have questions, but everyone is basically saying, okay, customer, all day long. So that's pretty much it.
I thought it was, that I thought maybe it was that you're a smaller company than ADP and Ceridian. So it gives you the ability to react faster, approve it faster, roll it out faster. But Ceridian and ADP, I mean, it's been 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and there's nothing. And it doesn't look like they're bringing anything.
no, from what I've talked to them, they said they're not doing anything.
You're not?
It's up to us.
Hopefully, it's the attitude of WagePoint that at some point in the very near future, we will no longer be referring to them as the smaller company.
Yeah.
Because of their attitude and because of their customer first, that will make sure that in the future, we are then calling ADP and Ceridian the has-beens of the payroll world.
I think we already do. But
Sure,
They're pretty big companies, though.
I do want to say though, just in I guess to your point, Juliet. So if you think about it, so ADP and Ceridian are like businesses with technology as one part of their business. Our whole company is a technology company. So if you think about it, this is our customer, this is our product, and then everything else is built behind that. There is no other thing other than the product from our standpoint. It's what you guys are constantly interacting with. So if we don't, like, our whole team is structured to support that thing with customer service like all around it, essentially.
Right.
So it's kind of, like if you think about it, like Ceridian and ADP have technology, but they're not technology companies. And that's the fundamental difference. If you build a technology company, you're building with like a mindset of that. It's like the technology is everything, not just like the product is not ancillary, it is everything.
Right.
And that's kind of how I think that's honestly that I don't want to I know how difficult it is to build a company of that size. So I have a lot of respect for that. But I also think that like ADP has been around for 70 years. And, we had a conversation with some of them recently. Worst conversation ever. Because they've got so much like attitude for nothing. right? They didn't even build this company. So so it's just like a typical corporation. I think that's part of the problem.
And being around a long time does not guarantee success, right? I mean, there's lots of corporations that were around a long time. Kodak were around a long time. They owned the photography space. Yep. Where are they today?
Good analogy. That's a good one. Because I see ADP as they've been like a dinosaur for a long time. I just had this conversation with a prospect today who's a CPA, asking me about some future partnerships, and we talked payroll. And Shrad, I did mention WagePoint. She wanted to understand the cloud market. She wanted to go look at QBO built-in payroll, and I explained it's good for very basic scenarios, but there's other players. But then we got on the topic of ADP, and I described ADP as a 4-letter word in my world. And it's because they wronged me.
It's only 3 letters.
Right.
Sorry.
Did that.
That's the joke.
That's the joke.
But ADP, and it's because they've screwed me over so many times in a past life. Never mind now. I just remember how they used to operate. And I haven't seen them or Ceridian or Payworks for that matter attempt to innovate and become WagePoint on steroids, a bigger version of WagePoint, whatever. It's like, I remember talking to a rep at Ceridian, and I had the problem with ADP a long time ago, but more Ceridian recently, where I said, let's see some QBO compatibility where you run your payroll, hit a button, and QBO just sucks it right up, or something like that. And they went, oh yeah, we've got that. And so I finally got the guy to show me what he's talking about, and he sent me a freaking Excel spreadsheet. He said, look, you just populate it, and
then upload
talking
it.
about desktop. He was talking about desktop, and I was just like, oh, you don't get it. You're just so out of touch. And this was a few years ago, and I have seen no improvement. So when I hear what you guys are talking about now, how Shrad's company came out and dealt with a real world pain point you guys are all dealing with that are managing payroll. And just like that, you've got a solution. And the other one's like, we'll just wait for this thing to end. We don't care. That's basically the message being sent.
And just to brag about my team, it took them 5 days.
See?
No, it was amazing.
That's
and
brilliant.
Someone on your team is watching and has said that chocolate was also very motivating in the whole.
Who is watching? Who is this
It's
chocolate?
It's going to be Michelle.
Somebody.
You know what goes well with
I
chocolate?
don't know.
Wine.
They're signed in and commenting as WagePoint. So I don't know.
That's Michelle Gold's out there.
I think she needs a bottle of wine too there.
To go with the
Shad.
chocolate. To go with that chocolate.
Yes.
Yeah, you should be getting a bottle of wine for them as well, I think.
Done. Well, before we end, though,
Don't
I
have
do
them
have a
drink another
question for you.
Yeah.
Before we move on from me, I do have a question for me, but we can absolutely finish everyone, and then I can ask my question. So I don't want to monopolize the conversation.
No, go ahead. Ask away.
Okay, so one of the things that we know about Canada in general is that Canadians live in small communities, right? I mean, that's reality for us. Like, so if you take Kitchener, Waterloo, Guelph, Cambridge, there's 180 accounting/bookkeeping firms in those, the Golden Triangle and then Guelph, essentially. One of the things that we are very interested in figuring out is how do we actually, because we don't have I'm sure you guys know, we don't have the resources to do national campaigns like Intuit and stuff like that. We can't go like, okay, let's put billboards everywhere and radio ads everywhere. So one of the things that we're very interested in trying, and this is actually the reason I bring this up, is because you actually brought up something that was very important to me, Juliet, which is what happens after Wine and Whiskey Wednesday, right? So one of the things that we think is happening is this webinar fatigue, like where everyone's just getting it like, I can't do this anymore, And so what we thought we'd do, okay, so I'm gonna pitch you guys an idea, and you can say I hate it, and that's okay. I won't feel bad. I'm a very big boy who cries later. So I pitch it, you guys say what you want, but this is what we're thinking is going to be fun and interesting. We may still do it even if you hate it, by the way, just to try it out. But so what we wanted to do is we thought we would host a trivia night, okay, with only the local bookkeepers and accountants. So we don't want to, we just want to Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, and Guelph. That's it. So the 180 folks, We don't know how many of those guys will show up. We'll probably do a cash prize for the firm, and we'll do a cash prize, same amount. We'll match it to a charity of the winner's choice. Anyone in the like in that community. We don't want to do like national stuff. We just want to be inside of the community, just like you guys talked about inside of a community. We want to just sort of create a sort of a boundary so that it's just us. You know, it just feels like kind of cozy, essentially. And we just want to have like, so it'll be us and possibly one more partner that we bring on, like another app partner. We'll probably talk for 5 minutes each about our products, and we'll include a trivia question inside of the trivia night. And then we'll just have some fun. That's it. This is just having some fun. We will come up with the questions. It'll be like, some of them maybe bookkeeping questions too, just to throw people off. Canadian, pop culture, like stuff like that. But for like 40 minutes, because of COVID, I feel like we're so serious, and it's also gloom and doom. Let's just have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
So 2 questions. 1, would you guys play with us? And 2, 2, do you think that there's an effective way? Let's say that we have, I think about 22 bookkeeping firms right now are customers in that area. Do you guys think that there's a good way for us to go target that other 160 firms to come play with us? Like, so that's really the question I'm asking. So if you guys can help me just brainstorm, that would be great.
Well, it sounds really great, but I don't live in that area, so I wouldn't be able to play.
Okay, you can.
There's like, well, I'm Toronto.
Yeah.
Jan's Toronto.
Yeah, I'm Toronto.
I'm farther away than all of you.
Brad's in Alberta.
Okay,
That's that whole province is a small community.
Okay, so let's say that we try KW, then we try Toronto, and we try. I'm really forget about the geography, because we'll figure it out based on if there's fun involved. I know. I just trashed one of the most important parts of this. But what we're trying to do is, would you guys find this fun to do it with us, like to just play a game and then win some money? But forget about the money for you guys, because the idea is for you to like have fun with your, like your colleagues at work. You can buy them dinner or whatever. It's just a gift for coming and hanging out with us. But the donation to the charity is also important to us, especially in this time. So would you guys do that? Would you come and hang out with us?
I know I would. I actually like
if we were invited, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'd be interested.
Yeah.
Like I come here because this is a release. This is not. We don't actually, Juliet. I like the fact that we just sit here and talk. It has very little to do with COVID, because we get COVID all day long.
Yeah.
And it's just
like a distressor.
It's a distressor. It's a relaxation period. It's one little bit of time where I can just chat with colleagues. We all got the same problems. We just rant and get some things off of our chest, because we've all got something on our chest about this crap. And actually, one of the questions I have for you, Shred, is, by the way, do you integrate with desktop?
This word desktop is, see, we're so tech forward that the word desktop is kind of like,
I have a client. They're on desktop. It's actually the charity. I got to post it for a new manager of finance.
You could still use it. It just wouldn't have a direct integration over. You could use it to export reports and import it into desktop. It would make no sense to have other integration.
So is that a logical charity then? Clients who are still using desktop?
And ADP.
What about someone who doesn't have enough clients? Would you still include us?
Sorry, in the games, yes. The idea is to have fun.
Okay.
I think you missed. So the idea is, yes, of course we want to talk about wage and we want our brand out there, but we don't have a lot of money for that. And so we were like, what can we really do? And we're like, we're really fun people. Let's just have fun with people. And that's pretty much how we came up with the ideas. Is let's just play games. Like, how fun, like, don't you guys find that like everything is so serious? Like, isn't it so much more interesting if you can just be like yourselves, like all of us just hanging out, right? So that's kind of the idea. So it sounds like you see there, I have another go. So then we will definitely throw one in Toronto. And Juliet, if you don't mind giving me a list of all the wonderful folks here, we can invite all of them.
Absolutely.
No,
And Alberta.
It sounds great. I'm still just having trouble rationalizing trivia, game, and then fun.
Why?
Why?
Oh, well, because you have to play to win.
Oh,
the competitive side of Steve is coming.
that's what he's throwing down already.
I'm trying to work through it. I understand it's my problem, and I try to work through it every day, but I'm really trying to work through this.
I understand. Yeah, I will help you.
And I will be there.
No, I will help you, Steve. I will give the answers to everyone else but you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will do this for you, just to be helpful. So to break the competitive streak, I will do it.
I appreciate that.
Shrad, I want your promise that there will be no questions, not even one, about COVID-19.
Not even one.
Not even one.
Okay.
But if you give me a question, I will make sure so give me a genre that you want. So like, for example, do you want like Canadian rock and roll, like someone who sang like a
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Done. You guys are influencing this whole event on this call.
Right. Well,
Rush, April 1, Neil Young.
Brian Adams.
Oh, Brian Adams. Wait, you can't give me the names of the singers.
So everyone said that they're in, but how? So we're all very interconnected. We're interconnected through Facebook groups, conferences, we see each other, email lists that we're all on. How does Shrad reach the people that aren't part of our community?
Yeah, exactly.
Any suggestions?
Michelle will take care of that. Michelle Gold. She'll social it up. You hear that, Michelle?
But are they on social?
Michelle?
Well, I mean, how about
everywhere.
Reach out specifically to those firms and encourage them to form a team, a trivia team, and talk about the winner gets to donate money to a charity of their choice and make it a local charity. I mean, that's great PR for a local bookkeeping or accounting firm that can donate whatever they win to a charity in their local community. That's a win.
So you want them to play amongst themselves?
No.
Play as a team.
No, they have to form a team and then join us in our trivia fun game.
Can you imagine like we only allowed 20 people, and then on Zoom there'd be like 20 tiles, and there'd be like 20 people up behind each person telling that one person what to do? How amazing would that be?
Are you looking to do it virtually, or are you looking to do it in person?
Yeah, so we're going to do it next month. We're going to do a first test trial in KW. One of the ways we thought, KW, that whole golden triangle thing, one of the ways we thought we could do it, and this is another, again, I'm sorry to monopolize, this is the last question for me, is if I said that for every person, so that if you brought one other person, you automatically get one of the trivia questions ticked off, essentially. Sure. So you basically get a head start. Could that be something, like, do you guys know enough people that don't show up to these types of, like, are not, like as Juliet says,
God,
are like influencers?
Yes.
Other bookkeepers, I mean.
Yeah. I have a good network.
I
think
love you guys.
Everybody here has a good network.
Yeah, exactly.
But people who don't show up with these things is what I'm saying. Like people who don't.
But see, I think that someone who's really connected could end up bringing in a lot of people. So you'd have to cap how many extra points.
You'd have to cap it at one.
And as we were sitting here, I'm thinking, oh, I know of about 8 people that I could get to do this. So
Same here.
Yeah. So you have to cap.
I think, Shrad, I think that if you're gonna do it in like with bookkeepers, maybe the IPPC would be a good place to kind of advertise that or to talk about that.
Yeah, but we want this to be like based on like on friendship. See, this is one of the things in our companies we talk a lot about, like being friends with you guys. That's why you're talking about. I think Amy, you were saying that we care about the customers. It's not that we care about customers. We just feel like everyone's like our friend, and we sort of think about. And that's including internal people and external people like Juliet and Steve. These guys run a pretty significant book of business with us. You would think I'd be very careful of everything I say in front of them. But I'm not, because I don't think of like, yes, we are there to service, and yes, we're customers, but they're customers, but we're also just people, regular people, and we like each other. So for me, that's just the basis of friendship. And that's for all you guys. I feel the same way. If we spend time, I'm sure we're going to like each other, because you guys are small business owners, just like, well, I guess I'm not a small business anymore, but I still feel like that in my mind.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm trying to say. That's the idea behind these types of events. It's not meant to be like I talked to Brad about like, hey, would he be okay hosting a bowling event in in Edmonton,
Calgary.
Calgary, before COVID, before it became dangerous to touch balls, right? I'm sorry for that. But
Yeah, I think we talked just after Christmas. It was in early January. Wasn't it?
yeah, because I was like, let's do that, and then
What's a
everyone-
pandemic, anyways?
Yeah, and then everyone got afraid of each other. So now I'm like, okay, let's do this online instead.
Yeah.
So-
no,
For the
that's a good
time
idea.
being, I think virtual is going to have to be something we're going to have to embrace for the next little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to know, I am not afraid of any of you. If any of you come near me, I will hug you. I don't care what anybody says because I am dying. 10
Oh,
weeks
yeah.
of only hugging my husband. Oh my God. Like, I love the man. Good God, I sure do. But like, I need other people. So I'll just,
I hear you.
Amy, how many glasses have you had?
this is,
Yeah,
I
the
just-
bottle's
I
almost
just
done.
opened the bottle.
I love you, man.
Oh,
Look,
yeah,
it's not too close
Smoking
to
loon.
having it. But
That's
I'd
smoking
say
loon,
that
isn't it,
too if
Amy?
I'd never opened the bottle. I am a hugger. I'm like Tanya. Like someone posted the other day about Tanya, like, you know, how like she's dying on the inside. And I'm like, I feel this so hard. Like I'd like it. Yeah,
I will take the hug. I will always
Perfect.
like hug.
but I will
Are
hug
you
you.
still in San
You know, it's-
Francisco, Shrad?
People
Sorry?
are gonna have to like, yeah.
Done.
Aren't you still in San Francisco?
He's in
I am
Atlanta.
still in San Francisco, yeah. So that's why it's still
Oh.
kind of light outside. Because
Ah,
also I don't have an actual door in my room. I have like a sliding door, so I have no privacy, which is great. So yeah, and this is another thing that makes me humble. It doesn't matter if I'm the CEO of a 12,000 customer payroll company. I still have no door. You see my problem?
So Betty gave you a great idea about reaching out to the IPBC. Do you know Kelly Parks?
Yes, very well. She's a customer.
So she does the regional meetings in Cambridge for IPBC.
there you go. That's pretty
And I
close to
do the Toronto
Kitchener.
ones.
Okay,
Thank you.
so there you go.
They
You
have
know
me
what?
down in Scarborough, but Toronto.
Yeah.
So
all-
since I came up with the idea, am I gonna get a question or?
You will get an
I'm
answer.
I'm just checking.
Yes, you will get an answer
Not
for.
that Betty is competitive either. Apparently.
I plan on beating Steve. That's all. I just want to beat him now.
Done.
So I want an inside deal. I need like one question or something because I did come up with IPPC.
Well, I have to tell you guys, thank you so much because
No problem.
I actually was telling the team, I was like, you know what? I have a feeling these guys will really like it because some of the most fun people we've met are actually bookkeepers. So we're like, because the question was, is it going to be like a lot of people that are kind of shy to talk and stuff? Like, no. Have you seen them on the dance floor?
Have you been to a conference?
Kelly's
Yeah.
not shy.
Yeah.
Kelly's not shy. Believe me, she's not shy.
No,
She's
she's
a
not.
blast.
Kelly
You'll love her.
Parks?
You're gonna love her. Yeah. You'll
Kelly
love her.
Parks
I'm not
is
either.
the social convener. She does the 6 a.m. walks and yoga and all that stuff.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Never
she's a
stops.
customer wage point. So
No, 6
we are-
a.m.
never
at a conference
stops.
is no, there's no way I want to see 6 a.m. at a conference.
What are
Yeah.
you talking about? That's the time I'm
Unless
just
it's-
getting in.
Yeah.
Just have my little half-hour nap before I do it all again. That's a
Wow.
little bit of an exaggeration, but not much.
Well, and we will have to rein Steve in because he is really competitive. Have I ever told you guys the story of and sorry, Steve, you may want to like cover your ears or something.
Wait a sec. Are you not supposed to check with me first before you
No.
do that?
I would normally, but because it's our last episode, I can't check with you and then share the story next week
But
because I
that
don't
also
have it
gives
next week.
me no opportunity
Fine.
to respond.
Well, you got about 9 minutes, 10 minutes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we went away on a family reunion with my parents. And Steve was playing, what were we playing? We were playing ping pong, table tennis. And Steve said he's really good at table tennis. And my dad loves table tennis and grew up with it. All his friends had table tennis. So Steve challenged all of us that he would be each member of my family. He would play against every single member of my family and beat us all. He had a lot to drink, and it was actually it was hilarious. We have a whole bunch of this stuff on video. Maybe I'll throw it on Facebook.
Oh,
He had a lot to drink, and he still beat all of us. Like one, but because in his head it was, I have to win. We came so close.
oh my
but
God,
he-
Betty, I think I'll have to help. Oh my God.
Maybe 2, because I said IPPC and Jen is in Toronto and she's with the IPPC, and I
Okay,
gave you Kelly, so that's
So now you
2.
three.
I should get 2 questions.
you will get
I
2
think.
questions. Done.
There we
Okay.
go.
I would suggest you can give her 3, Shreya.
Oh, so he's giving me his extra. Don't give him any, and you can give me 3. Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
So we will have to rein in Steve's competitive spirit. 'Cause
And your family still talks to me.
yes, we do. We still all talk about that ping pong game as well. Like you literally, one by one, we all lost.
Yeah, Juliet's included in the people who still talk to Steve, so that's a good thing.
Yes,
That was really good.
yes. And it was
Yes, we do.
We're all good sports, so.
Yeah.
it was,
Well, thank you guys. Thank you all. I really
no
appreciate
problem
it.
at all.
Our pleasure.
And again, that's a perfect example of pivoting, right? Another, you're having to change something you were going to do for your customers. So we've got about 9 minutes left in our last episode of Wine and Whiskey Wednesday. Anything else that anyone would like to share or talk about before we sign off? And again, we are thinking that we are going to do something. We just don't know what it looks like. I don't know if it'll still be called Wine and Whiskey.
And I would be remiss if I did not ask everyone to please subscribe to our new podcast.
Yes. And Shrad was a guest, our first guest, I think, on
Second.
the podcast.
Nice.
Second?
Yes. Yeah, he was episode 2, but he was our first guest because
Yes,
episode
yes.
1 was just you and I.
Right.
Did
Yes.
you guys post it on Facebook or?
I saw
Yes.
it somewhere. Where did I see it? Was it
It's
Facebook?
in the only place I've posted it so far is in our Facebook group, the Kninja Network
That's where I
Accounting
saw it.
Professional
Yeah.
group, because the link isn't yet searchable and everything. So I just put in a direct link, but it's supposed to be live,
Yeah.
like it's live
Yeah.
on iTunes this Friday, I think, right?
So is the link still there?
Yes.
We were
cool.
just approved by iTunes last Friday.
Nice.
And I've been told that it can take anywhere up to 2 weeks
Oh.
before your podcast is actually searchable, that you can just go in and type the name of the podcast and it'll come up. So I think that's why we've been sharing the actual link. So it'll take you right to it. But in 2 or 3 weeks, you should just be able to find it actually on Google just by searching for it. That is, of course, if Juliet has shared the name of the podcast. Have you shared the name, Juliet?
I did on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's
I saw it.
it's Smart Man, Smarter Woman. Isn't that
Yeah.
a great?
Yeah, I really liked that when I saw it.
Except when it comes to trivia and ping pong.
I
Other
have
than
to
that,
say,
I'm good.
still one of my, so I've been doing like podcasts like a fiend, like as if someone has been feeding me podcasts and I've been like hungry for it. That's how many I've been doing. It's still, you guys are still one of, I think you might be my favorite one so far. Also because of the last questions you asked. One of the questions they asked was, is there any profession you wouldn't do? And I was like, sewage worker. These guys are laughing like that.
Yeah.
Yes. And you are still the only one to give that answer.
Yes.
I think,
So I
I
guess-
think by now it is expected that I would give that answer. So.
Sure.
Yes.
So I guess-
the podcast is called Smart Man, Smarter Woman. And it's on
Well,
iTunes. It's not searchable yet.
I've been totally into podcasts lately. I've been trying to do a walk every day, and I've been walking to political podcasts, some sort of tech industry podcast. So, and of course, cloud accounting. So I'm going to add it.
Yeah.
I'll be listening to you
absolutely.
guys
So
while
there's
I'm wandering. So I
Yeah.
guess on that subject, I guess you guys have probably noticed that I've kind of unofficially joined the Friday Night Live with Andrew Wall. That's that
I have
initiative
that on my last thing I'm going to mention. So hold your thought.
Okay.
Hold your thought, because
Okay.
I have that in the last things I'm going to mention before Steve does his quotes.
Okay.
Is there
Thank you.
anything else that anyone wants to talk about before we kind of sign off for the night? Go ahead, Amy.
Thank you, Juliet. I know I haven't been on a lot, but I watch a lot more than you probably know. And thank you for being here, for all the work you've done, and awesome. And I'm gonna miss it, but I'm sure definitely gonna listen to the podcast.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. And like I said, we're going to do something else. I just don't know what that looks like. I think I'm going to start with Facebook Lives, like impromptu Facebook Lives. But there is right now, there's just so much out there that I'm not going to start it right away. So before we move on to Steve and his quotes, so there are, sorry, was there a question? So there are other people who are already doing Facebook Lives on a regular basis. So Matthew and Linda do it in their group, QB Community Live on Thursdays. Tamitha does it in her group, the Bookkeeping Rebellion on Friday afternoons. And it's pretty much a drop-in, ask questions. Sometimes they have a topic, sometimes they don't. And then Brad has now become the unofficial, are you now an official host?
Well, that's what I was going to sort of mention earlier. Andrew and I have always talked about doing something together. And as the pandemic came to be, both Michael, Lee, and Hector, who are the co-founders of that initiative, have kind of stepped away a bit. It's still technically their initiative, and they're just kind of sitting back, and I think they're just on a longer hiatus. So, I'm just helping out. But with Andrew and I, and you probably noticed, we're trying to get more into, instead of a topic on a Friday night, and let's talk technical, we're focusing more on the guests that we're going to bring in. So next week, or this coming Friday, I totally recommend you have a listen to Matt Paff. If anyone's been to QuickBooks Connect San Jose, he was always a media VIP down there from down under. He's one of the smartest people you'll ever meet in the industry. He knows Xero, he knows QuickBooks Online, he knows MYOB Online. He understands the industry. He's stood up to Brad Smith and Cezanne Godarzi. You should see him go head to head with those guys. He'll call them on stuff. Same with the Xero people. He's amazing. So we have him on Friday, and then the following week, of course, anyone who was in Toronto at QuickBooks Connect or San Jose or both in 2019, remember Jade Simmons. We managed, she's going to have a chat with us. I'm really looking forward to that.
Which I think
running for president.
Yeah.
The topics we're trying to work on are going to be interesting, to say the least, because she's an interesting person. So that's going to be a real treat. So moving forward, I don't know if I stick with it. I have every intention of it. We're just going to keep tapping our network. That we've, Andrew and I did 5 San Jose's in a row. We've done London and done a lot of things together. We know between the two of us know a lot of people. So we're going to sort of up the guest game. Cool. And we're going to get probably some people on this today's session in there too.
Very cool.
But,
so make sure you've got Matthew and Linda on Thursday, Tamitha Friday, and Brad and Andrew on Friday Night Live.
Mm-hmm. And Tanya Hiltz also does one on a Friday afternoon. That's very similar. Sorry? Tanya Hiltz.
On a Friday as well? Okay.
Yeah, I think hers is before Tamitha's, but it's a similar concept. And they just leave it open and just have people drop in. And I've taken part in both. Those are fun.
Yeah. Excellent. So lots of resources that are out there. And again, everyone is doing webinars right now as well. So there's tons of webinars. So if you're a member of our Facebook group and you see something that you think would be of interest to other people, please do share it so that everyone else can be aware of it as well. Okay, so before I hand it over to Steve to end off with our quote for the Wine and Whiskey Wednesday, I would like to thank all of you for joining us every week for a year and a half as guests of ours for Steve and I, whether you're on screen or you're in the chat, or you're watching it, after the fact. It's been a great experience for us. I'm truly humbled that you would spend an hour of your time every week with us, and greatly appreciate you giving us and letting us into your homes. So over to you, Steve.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and again, thank you to all of you. Juliet did tell me that because this is our last episode, I was allowed 2 quotes, because usually I'm only allowed 1. And so I probably stretched it a little, because the first quote is kind of a long one, but it's also one of my favorites. And I'm sure some of you will have heard it before. So I'll start out with that one, and then the second one's a lot shorter, so it's okay. So the first one, here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you cannot do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius, because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. So that's the first quote. And then the second one. Thank you. And I actually changed the second one, Juliet. So
sorry, Steve, who said the first quote?
Well, most people think it's Steve Jobs, because he was the one who actually said the words, because it was the commercial that brought the Mac back from the verge of bankruptcy. But it was actually a guy called Rob Siltonen, who was the person who actually wrote the words for the commercial. So
okay,
I remember that. That sounded familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I had a Mac way back then.
Yeah, it was an awesome commercial, and a great quote. It's one of my favorites. Yeah. So last, and this will sign us off. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has.
And that
Perfect.
is
Margaret. That is Margaret Mead.
Mead. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to take this over from you guys for a second. I just want to say cheers to Juliet and Steve.
Absolutely.
Cheers to the both of you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Looking forward to the podcast.
Take care, everyone.
Have a fabulous week.
Yep.
You too.
Everyone.
You too.
You too.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye.
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 Bye.